Hello, my name is Jeffrey Allen Davis II. Big hellos from Fontana, California, which is about 45 minutes east of the greater LA area. Just a little bit about myself. I went to California State University, Dominguez Hills, which is in Carson, California, which is about 15 miles south of the greater LA area. And I studied digital media arts with an emphasis in audio recording with a minor in music. I currently, as well as still doing music, have the opportunity to engage as a high school bigs program specialist for a nonprofit by the name of Big Brothers Big Sisters. Just the overall mission of our agency, or the overall like purpose of our agency is just to offer mentoring to like our local communities. We have amazing individuals that just serve as guidance and as support to this now generation, really just giving them a perspective and opportunity to attain and chase after their dreams. So it's a really cool opportunity. But for the most part, individuals know me as a drummer. Some know me as a producer, songwriter, even as an artist. And currently, with engaging in those forms of art, I also have the opportunity to be a part of this really cool podcast by the name of AZs and Root Brews with my good friend and brother Raynell Jamal. Just a little bit about myself. As I talked about, my the domestic aspect of my life, but just even as the artistic aspect of my life, I've had the opportunity to put out a few projects. A gospel jazz project called For the Culture, Coloring Outside the Lines. And then I've had a few singles and a few beat takes that I put out. I have the opportunity to play with amazing musicians such as Von Foy, Anthony Alexander, who was on The Voice a couple of seasons back, Andre Paginelli, who was a Latin Grammy nominated saxophone player. That he was recognized as the Kenny G of Brazil. And I've also worked with amazing artist and songwriter Andy Grammer, Tony and Aretha Scruggs, and the list goes on. Of just people that I'm really grateful that gave me the opportunity to share my gifts on with their platform. So I don't take it for granted. I'm really blessed. Some of the roles that I've served on in the artistic realm is I've served as a sound man, I've served as a musical director, as a keyboard player, and as a drummer. So those are some things that individuals have recognized, or some of the gifts that I have used in the creative realm, and maybe we can dive into some of those ideas with some of the questions. So how I'm going to do this, I have a list of questions to my right in regards to just some things that we can talk about. I do want to say a big shout out and a big thank you. I'm sorry. To Inside Out Branding and Michaela Trogdon for just entrusting me with this opportunity, just to share a piece of my heart. I think the biggest goal today is number one, just to hopefully give information, to be as transparent as possible, and to and just to give people avenue or thought on routes that they can go with their creativity. I think this platform and the subject is so cool because creativity is so vast. So yeah, like let's dive into it. So I think the first question that I want to tackle is, what does it mean to be creative? And as I've been thinking about this, I think creativity, or being a creative, can be in two parts. I think in like a non artistical form, but still artistic. We could look at individuals that are like our bakers, chefs, craftsmen, how are able to take solid elements that have purpose, but have not been molded into a presentation. Them being able to grab those elements and bring it together to present something, I think that could be creative. So think about it. We have a baker. What do you have? Eggs, sugar, flour, color dye, and when you mix that thing together, you put it in a nice pan. That could be a nice cake. That can be nice cupcakes. That could be a pie. Or you kind of get the idea. But just again, taking solid elements that and mixing them together to create something, or like give a craftsman some wood, some nuts, some bolts. You might get a house, or you might get a chair, or give a gentleman a lawnmower. You give him some shears. You give him edgers. You have a nice manicured lawn, or You give a barber, some clippers, give them some edgers, man, like able to create, able to put, to use elements or sources that are not manicured and making it into a beautiful presentation. I think that's on the same end for someone that is involved in like poetry, being able to um, utilize unsourced words to create amazing thoughts, or you give a keyboard player um, you know just various chords and notes, and they can create a melody, they can create progressions, but again, using um, grabbing sources or grabbing elements, putting it together, um, and bringing a presentation. I think like that's just like the idea of like a creative, somebody that's able take to take something, make something out of nothing, or fragmented nothings. Um, because we as human beings can't really make something out of nothing. Not trying to get too deep, but we're able to grab healthy elements and put them together. So I think that's a creative. I think creatives can. I think also, like, if you want to dive a little deeper, I think creatives um, make whatever that thing is a part of their everyday. I think creatives not only just do, but it's just who they are. Um, Whether they're giving, learning, or sharing, I think that's also a part of like being a creative, being in the creative process. It's like that circular or that recycle effect, pouring in and something coming out, kind of like almost as the hip hop term sampling, being able to take again that idea of a source, manipulating it, chopping it up, and making it something fresh or making it something new. So I think that's like the idea of being a creative. For me personally, my creative probably started when I was young. Most musicians that that are known started somewhere in church. My father, he's a pastor. My mom sang in the church. All my aunts sing. Even when we look at the trail of lineage, my grandfathers on both sides were involved in the church, but they also were singers and trombone players. So music most definitely has been in my veins. Art has been in my veins for the longest. And through the years, I had the opportunity to be involved in like my elementary school didn't have a music program, so church was kind of like my teaching ground. But when I got into high school and I discovered jazz band, I got engaged. I got engaged um, in the jazz band process. And then when I got to college, I got into Latin jazz band. I did a little jazz band, and then in college, through college and high school, start playing for artists such as like Von Foy and for a church, and I got connected with a band by the name of Kingdom Business, and played with groups like Shaka, and then just after that, just really was able to just meet like a lot of really cool individuals. Some of my closest friends are musicians, so they have trusted me to play drums behind them, and then artists, just various artists, really, I guess they dug what I liked, but they liked what I did, and and how I played, and so they trusted me to play with them too. So, my journey, I'm still in the journey right now as we speak. Still trying to play as much as possible. Still trying to, um, still loving the instrument, still loving the process of creativity. So, the blessings, the story's not over. It's just like, I'm still in the process. So, most definitely a beginning, but most definitely continuously looking forward to what's to come, and um, the opportunities to share more of what I do. So, I bleed into like let's go into the next question. How do I want my music to impact people? Like, I think for me personally, I I want my music to give people permission to go after their dreams as well. I think you know, I think us as creatives, I think um, we have something special, and I think everybody has something special in them. I think everybody has an element of creativity. It doesn't so much have to be a artistic, like an artistic aspect of like creativity. Although I think that is an amazing element of art. It kind of goes back to the idea of man, if you cook, if you cook, you put a little seasoning on the greens and the kale, and make some fried chicken. You bring a presentation. You created a meal. You created sources for personal consumption, that would fill the belly, that would fill the belly, that would bring, that would sustain. And I think that's the same thing with music, man. Like music or painting or, um, being able to create or sing somebody dance. Like whether that be hip hop or ballet or modern. I think, man, like man, you we as creatives have the opportunity to an element of the soul, feed the element of the soul that like really, man, it can't be touched. And I think for me personally, like I really want to give people, like when I play, I want to give people the permission to like go after what they want. Everybody. I really believe that everybody has a purpose. I believe that everybody, and purpose for me, like with that statement, even not, I'll even say this for myself, like, purpose doesn't always, is not always equal to, it's not equal to platform. For me, it's purpose is equal to obedience, and um, where one needs to go, that will be the platform. My mom always says that my mom always says, like, like the biggest platform is like, obedience to the Lord. And that doesn't negate. And so like when people hear this, I'm not, my whole thing is, I'm not saying like don't go after, like, man, chase it, like push for, I won't even say chase, but push, um, push as far and as big as your imagination, or even ask the Lord to succeed your imagination, um, in regards to like what your dream is or what your goal is, but also trust Him with where He has you, and so for me, I just really want to give people, I think, for my art, whether it be, producing a beat or playing drums behind an artist, um, I really um, I really want to give people the permission, to go after what they feel in their heart. I run into people sometimes that say, "Man, like, the Lord has given this to me. What do you think about it?" And my thing is like, yo, like it doesn't really matter what I think. If God has told you, if the Lord has told you, like, man, like you need to you need to do something. My biggest encouragement is study. One of my encouragements would be like study, plan and prepare, and then when it's time to launch, go. I think that would be my advice. To you receiving that permission to chase after your dreams, to go after what's in your heart. Because the last thing, like for me, and I'm kind of jumping ahead, but the last thing that, and I've even experienced, like, the last thing that I think anybody wants to experience is being in a position where, um, really being in a position where you know they were they felt something in their hearts, they felt something in their spirit, and then they didn't go after it, and then they have to watch somebody else, take the yes that was actually meant for them, and being able to see, um, the experiences that like they might not be able to engage in. And doesn't mean that, um, that things won't be redeemed, but it'll be a totally different experience. And sometimes we have to learn the hard ways. Like honestly, like I'm learning that. Like I've learned that, and I'm still learning that. Sometimes we have to learn the hard ways, the hard way. But I don't think it's always meant for us to learn the hard way. So I think for me, I really, again, I hope that when people see me in my element, or see me operating in a form of my element, man, that it just really gives them the permission to go after what they need to go after. And I just really hope that, like, it brings joy, and, brings a sense of, yeah, it just brings a sense of joy, um, and just, reflection. I love when I get to see one of my favorite artists and they're playing, and it just causes me to reflect, and it just makes me want to be, just a better person. So I think that's how I want my music to impact. Two more questions, and I'll try to make them quick. One of the questions, that was asked, what have been some of the highs and lows for me? I would say like the lows for me. I won't say specifically like an event, but I think what might cause a low for me would be when my expectations are not met, and that's nobody's fault. I think sometimes, but I wouldn't say it's nobody's fault, but if it's anybody's fault, I think it would be mine. I think the best thing I can do is stay present, and I think sometimes, it doesn't mean that we don't look ahead. Doesn't mean we don't look towards the future, but I think the biggest thing that we can do is be present in the moment. For me, I think sometimes like the disappointment has come um, when I put unfair expectations on a moment, or I put unfair expectations on somebody else, and then I'm disappointed when it doesn't go my way. And so I think those would be like the low. I think those would be like more. I think that's like a nutshell, like the low moments. Of course, like maybe somebody made a promise, or um, things didn't. I would say like things didn't um, finish or end as I thought they should have. But I think that's also part of the pruning process. I'm even learning that now. Like I think some of that stuff is a part of the pruning process. Sometimes those low moments are actually set up for the next steps, or maybe there are things that need to be learned, whether it be about a situation, a process, or even about self that needs to take place. So sometimes those low moments are not low forever. Sometimes those low moments are just preparation for the next steps of what one is trying to do, or what one is supposed to become. I think that's very important. And again, as I said, just being transparent, like I'm learning that now. Like um, sometimes, I really believe that God, um, he I think he either allows us to go um, get to the place where we need to be so that we can learn, or he doesn't allow us to get to the place where we think we need to be so that we can learn who we are and we can be solid in him, so that when we go to the places that he's called us to be, that those dreams that and those visions that we have for ourselves and those things that he says a yes to, then we can truly represent him um, at that place, But I think again, it really goes back to trusting him and leaning on him in those. I would say the high moments. I think there's been a lot of high moments. I think the blessings there've been more high moments than low moments. I think just the low moments we can feel a little harder. You know what I mean? Than we can feel a little harder than the high moments at times. But I think the high moments are just those moments where man you just feel the joy in the heart, whether that's playing in front of 10 people or whether that's playing in front of a couple of thousand people, or I think the high moments are just knowing or just feeling like a sense of trust, feeling a sense of trust with those that you're playing with. Like those are dope moments. And of course, like for me, being able to play on some and I'll just in humility, just being able to play on some like really cool stages. Those have been some really high moments. Some genuinely, I can truly say like some bucket list moments checked off, and most definitely trying to create, or maybe not bucket list. I don't, maybe that's not a fun term, but just just some really huge goals. I remember when I was younger, and I can share this really quick. I remember in 8th grade, telling my classmates, yo, like I'm gonna play on some. Well, I'm gonna play on some big stages. I'm gonna, and some of them laugh like, "No, you're not, bro. No, you're not. You're not gonna play no big stages." And man, I can truly say, man, like according to some standards, some of the stages that I played um, have been pretty massive in my eyes. So I'm just truly grateful for that, and just like really thankful to the Lord like for those opportunities. So yeah, I think again the low moments. Just as a recap, I think the low moments are just when expectations are not met. I think the high moments are just really being able to stay in a sense of peace and joy when I'm doing or when I'm engaging in the art. So yeah. So the last question, and I think this we'll just try to land here. We'll try not to stay on this too long. But I think the question is, what encouragement or advice would you give to other creatives? So if I were to like even just talk to myself, I think the biggest thing, or I won't say the biggest thing, but I think one thing that I would say is like just try to stay in a place of learning, and it doesn't even have to be so much of um, it doesn't so much have to be some learning from someone that does the same thing as you, but I think we can learn so much. Like I think someone that like I truly respect is like a Kobe Bryant, right? Man, Kobe, I don't play basketball as much as I used to when I was younger, right? So basketball is not my sport, but the element of the idea of discipline, the idea of being very keen to the process of basketball, I think that's something that we can apply to any other art form. So I would just think like, man, study, like be a learner, be a student um, of your craft. Be a consistent student of your craft, but be a student of other people's crafts, um, and take upon the attitude. You know what I mean? Of like, be willing to take on some of those attitudes, like those positive attitudes, or the attributes that make one better. I think that'd be great. I would say, just in the same way of being a student, just be mindful of comparisons, because sometimes too much comparison can demean your own gift, and if we're not careful with the comparisons, um, we might have the opportunity of missing opportunities to gain friendships or gain relationships, because we're such in a case of of trying to measure up, or we can be in a place where we'll miss. We'll either try to measure up, or we'll measure people down, and that could be opportunities for positive growth. Um, so I would say, most definitely be a learner. Be mindful of comparisons. Um, um, what else? I think there's a lot. I mean, there's so much that one can say about staying. But I also just think stay encouraged, right? Like the word tells us, and the scripture has been popping up so much, where it talks about in Galatians 6:9, don't grow weary while doing well, for in due season, you shall reap if you faint not. And I love just even um, I love even the scriptures that are above it and below it. I think the first half talks about, we reap what we sow. So I think just really continuing to do the work. There we go. Continuing to do the work. Um, you know, you know, doing our best to sow good seeds in our craft, as we also, but also on the back end of that 6:10, it talks about making sure that we do well to others, especially in the household of faith. So making sure that like how we treat others, that we treat others like well while we're trying to get to the place that we desire. And I think also, like, I think two more things. I think being, as I said that, it just kind of hit me, being okay with where you're at. Sometimes, like, and again, I'm not diminishing. I don't want to diminish platform, because I think we should want to be the best that we can be, but sometimes we can be so blind to wanting to get to the platform that we're actually exactly where we need to be, and we're exactly where we need to be. So I would just encourage, like, creatives, like, be present, um, continue to be present, and continue to enjoy. Again, if you're performing in front of 20 people, man, yo, perform your heart out, because you never know who that one or two people out of 20, that could be the steps to the actual place that you want to go. So don't diminish the platform. Just give your best in the platform. And lastly, I would say don't be afraid to rest. And you know, again, Bible, right? When you read Genesis, um, we see we see a really amazing thing that takes place in the creation of the heavens and earth. And the last thing that the Lord said, He rested. He said it was good. And I wonder if we as creatives ever give ourselves the opportunity to be as God even Himself did, by being able to look at the things that we put our hands to, and to say like, yo, this is actually good. And I think that takes place in the aspect of rest. I think sometimes, like, we can get so wrapped up, and I'm so guilty. We get so wrapped up in the grind, and the grind is good. Yo, we need a grind. We need to work hard. We need to be consistent. But sometimes, we're not making time for the heart spaces that need to be taken care of, and we don't get to look at what we've done. I think the blessing, and it's happened a couple times this week, within the last couple of days, where in a mode of rest, I've been able to share with people some of the stuff that I've been working on, and to receive I got one more thing. I'm sorry. To receive the validation, to receive the validation, also really gave me the opportunity to reflect. Like, man, like, yo, there's some growth here, you know. So I would really encourage, I would really encourage like rest. I would encourage like, man, just do some small things like listen to podcasts, read a book, you know, watch documentaries. Just do things that again are going to feed um, the heart spaces because you know, like man, the heart has to be healthy as a creative. You know, I really think that the heart needs to be healthy. You know, our minds need to we need to continue to try to exercise and make sure that our minds are healthy, um, and just making the effort, you know. And this is not about being perfect, but this is about just really just trying to put ourselves in the best positions for what success might look for us, you know. So man, I know I shared a lot. You know, I thank you for really being patient and checking out what I had to say today. Um, you know, but more than anything, just really be encouraged. You know, it's real out there. You know, it's real out there, and uh, but I believe if we stay the course and we stick to the plan, what it talks about in Habakkuk, you know what I mean, like write the vision, make it plain. Um, you know, you know, and just being willing to just like you know make it plain, take the proper steps. You know, I think everything's gonna be okay. So, you know, most definitely hope that I said something that would be a benefit to someone today. If you want to follow me on my Instagram and my Twitter, you can follow me at JA Davis II, which is also for like Roman numeral two. You can also follow me on my website www.jdavis.co. If you want to follow my podcast, we're on all podcast streaming platforms, and we're also on Instagram and Twitter. I believe at AZSANDROOTBREWS. So AZ's and Root Brews. All right. So yeah, like that's my information. I know I went over a little over the 15 minutes. You know, I think my heart is full. Heart has been full with just sharing so much information. Again, I just want to say thank you to Michaela Trogdon and the Inside Out branding team. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your platform. And, you know, just y'all stay blessed, y'all stay encouraged. And if I could leave you with this salutation, have a blessed week and make good decisions.